Today, I will talk about extraordinary people who differ from us with distinctive features that make them the most important. The abilities they have are terrifying, or so they say. Some of us may think that it is a myth or a legend that we will present for excitement and fun. But when we get to the most important part, you will definitely feel the real seriousness, and you will realize that it is a serious topic and not just for fun. The most dangerous issue in the world, the Zohari human. Throughout the ages, we have heard many stories about supernatural phenomena in humans, whether it is seeing the future, seeing the dead, or even communicating with the other world. But did you know, my friends, that there are humans who have special physical characteristics that indicate that they have abnormal abilities? Oh, so it is said. Rather, these qualities were more often a curse than a blessing for them. They are the Zoharis, or the Zohari human. Of course, like any of our topics, we will address several aspects, most notably the opinion of science and religions. But before we get to this part, let me list to you who the Zohari human is in his affairs, in his story, or in the myths spread about him. Before we start, my friends, do not forget to subscribe to my channel and activate the notification bell. If we search for the meaning of the Zohari human, we will not be able to find any reliable source that confirms the meaning of this term. Rather, most sources indicate that this term emerged from popular myths that are widely spread in Africa, especially in Morocco. It is worth noting here that this term, if not absent, is almost absent from the rest of the Arab and Islamic countries, especially in the Middle East and the Arabian Gulf. Let us return to our topic. In general, the Zohari human being is a human being, according to these beliefs, who has certain characteristics that make him able to communicate with other worlds, especially the world of the jinn, which makes him a target witches and sorcerers. To understand this term well, we must first know the meaning of the name and its origin. Here, a person means a child who is not more than 10 years old. As for al-Zohari, opinions were divided over this title. One opinion says that it is derived from al-Zar, or as it is known among the Arabs, the nard, meaning the dice. This indicates luck, meaning that this person is lucky due to considerations that we will discuss in our episode later. As for the other opinion, it says that this child was the planet Venus at his birth, which means al-Sora in Arabic, which is the planet visible at that time. Therefore, he was called Zohari, which is denied by some, considering that a Zohari person is born at any time, according to those who believe in this phenomenon. The opinion that raises controversy is that this name is derived from the book of Zohar, which is one of the most important books in Judaism that deals with the philosophy of Kabbalah and is one of the most dangerous books of Jewish magic, and which is also called the Book of Enlightenment. It is known that the Jews have had a presence since ancient times in Africa and Morocco, and perhaps the origin of the name or even this phenomenon is somehow related to the ancient Jews and their magic writers. Well, let us now move on to find out the origin of this Zohari human, according to what is circulating in the popular news. Listen carefully. It is said that this person is either a member of the jinn who possesses the child after his birth, or the human child is replaced by another jinn in human form. As for why he is considered Zohariya, the circulating news says that this person has the luck that opens all closed doors for him, and that he brings luck to every place he goes. This is because of the enormous spiritual energy that surrounds him, and according to these sayings, the jinn and devils submit before this person. The strangest thing is that a Zohari person can see the treasures hidden inside the earth and guarded by the jinn. Therefore, accessing it without fear of them, or in other words, is considered a link between the world of the jinn and the world of humans. Therefore, charlatans and magicians chase after this person and try to reach him through various natural and hideous methods. Remember this information well, the ugly ways. Now, does this Zohari human have certain characteristics? Before we begin to mention the characteristics of the Zohari human being, remember, my friends, that by the word human being, we mean a child under 10 years old, whether male or female, or more accurately, a child who has not reached puberty, so he maintains his purity, according to the belief of magicians and sorcerers. We return to the distinctive characteristics of this human being. As we mentioned previously, a human being is considered a Zoharite due to external characteristics that distinguish him from others, and a hidden characteristic that can only be inferred by magicians and sorcerers. Other characteristics are not considered decisive as to whether this person is a Zoharian or a natural person. Let us start with the external or apparent characteristics that distinguish Al-Zuri from others. The first characteristic, which is the most important, is that he has a split tongue, that is, a line that cuts across his tongue in a longitudinal manner, not zigzag. Because of this characteristic, the child faces difficulty in speaking and eating. The second characteristic relates to the hands, as there is what looks like a straight transverse line in the middle of the hand, crossing it transversely, which is different from the lines on our hands if we look closely. This characteristic may appear with one hand or with both. The third characteristic relates to the eyes, where the eyes have a slight squint, such that the right eye slightly projects into the left eye and has a special sparkle. This is considered in medical diagnostics to be a birth defect that requires medical follow-up. However, in societies that believe in this phenomenon, it is further evidence of the nature of this child. This applies to the external characteristics, but the hidden characteristic is one of the most important characteristics, and only magicians and sorcerers can determine it, which is the color of blood. According to these beliefs, the color of a Zoharian person's blood tends to be light pink, and since this characteristic is hidden, you can imagine, my friends, how witches are able to determine it. What is interesting about the matter is that the blood of a Zoharian person is considered the purest and purest blood in the world of sorcery. It is even said that the jinn dominates the person with the Zoharian blood of all kinds. Love and purpose for this person's blood is like red mercury in their world, giving them the strength to rise through the ranks. Really strange. Of course, there are other signs such as hair color, sectioning, and eye color, but these characteristics are not considered important because of the possibility of their appearance in the average person. Let us learn about the Zohari human classifications. Yes, as you heard, the classifications. Since charlatans classify these people according to the quantity and quality of the signs present on them, the person who has all the signs is considered a Zoharic person of the first classification. As for the one who has signs on the palms and tongue, he is a Zohari of the second degree. As for other signs, it is of the third degree. What is suspicious is what I read about the demand and use differing according to the classifications, as the person with the first classification has a lot of use and demand for it, and so on. It is worth noting that in areas where belief in this phenomenon prevails, especially in villages and remote areas, families to whom children with these characteristics are born try to hide them as much as possible. But do you know why? Because magicians and sorcerers searching for hidden treasures chase them and kidnap them, and in most cases, the end is extremely tragic and dark. Do you now know what I meant by request and use? Now, what did I mean by demand and use? Listen carefully. As we mentioned previously, charlatans pursue children who are born with the characteristics we mentioned previously for one goal. That is, using them to reach the treasures hidden underground, especially those guarded by the jinn, because as we mentioned, the jinn fear these people and submit to them because of the spiritual energy surrounding them, through which they can guide the charlatans to the treasures. But before I detail and tell you some of the stories about crime's charlatans, let me clarify something. According to most Moroccan historians and scholars, including history professor Abdelhak Zaidi, the presence of hidden earthly treasures in some mountainous areas is due to historical factors, most notably the collapse of the rule of the Almohad state, which ruled from the year 1121 to the year 1269, when massive security chaos prevailed after the collapse, prompting the people to bury their wealth and valuables underground. The professor continues that the issue of burying treasures extended even during the French and Spanish colonization of the Kingdom of Morocco. With every security chaos, many Moroccans resorted to burying their treasures in the ground. So the treasures exist, and the charlatans want them. So what is the way to obtain them, especially if they are guarded by the jinn? Unfortunately, their means is these children, whom they call the Zoharians. According to popular culture, the Zoharian child can see the treasure hidden in the ground, reach it, and hold it without any harm being done to it. Therefore, charlatans intend to kidnap these children who show the previous signs, and according to what some charlatans narrate, the method followed after kidnapping the child, who usually suffers from a disability, either physical or mental, is, according to charlatans, a sign of Zohari. It involves tying some veils or writings on the child's forehead and forcing him to walk barefoot until he falls. The fall of this child determines the location of the treasure, according to the sorcerers. The child is usually returned to his family after his mission is completed. But my friends, if you find this annoying and hurtful, listen to the following. I apologize in advance for the heinousness and horror of the stories I will mention. But they are practices that actually happen, and I need to highlight them. In some cases, children are not returned, but rather disappear altogether. Unfortunately, some of their bodies appear after a while, and others remain to this day without a trace. There are many unfortunate stories about cases of kidnapping and killing of Zohari children, because according to the beliefs of these charlatans, the treasure guarded by the jinn can only be unlocked if the child's blood is spilled on the treasure floor, because the jinn, as we mentioned, are thirsty for the blood of al-Zohari. Then the sorcerer slaughters the child to satisfy the guardian jinn. Really terrifying, is not it? I will narrate some of these stories, one of which was documented in police records, and the perpetrator was actually arrested. Let us begin with the story of the child Nadia, the 6-year-old who was kidnapped in front of her brother by a man wearing a woolen robe, according to her brother's description, on their way home from school.
Nadia, according to her family, was a Zoharian child due to the signs appearing on her. The family reported their suspicions to the police, only for the police to discover the body of a headless girl on the outskirts of the nearby forest. The child's mother, Nadia, recognized her and confirmed that she belonged to her child. Shocking. Another case that sparked widespread controversy and discontent in Morocco, and its horror and ugliness, the child Naima al-Ruhi. On August 17, 2020 AD, the child Naima disappeared, who was suffering from a physical disability that made her unable to walk long distances alone. According to the statements of the child's father and investigations, that the child was with her sister. The 12-year-old girl visited one of their relatives who lives near their home in the Zagora region in the southeastern part of Morocco.
The girl was kidnapped in less than 5 minutes. The father searched for his daughter in the vicinity of their residence, as he was certain that the child could not have been farther away than this, due to a physical disability that prevents her from walking more than 100 meters on her own. The father's efforts were in vain. He told the police and informed them that his child was Zoharia, which prompted the police to consider the possibility that the child had been kidnapped by the treasure-hunting mafias that were active in that area. What happened next is heartbreaking. After searching for the child for 40 days, a shepherd in the Agds region in the southeast found the remains of the child's bones and some of the fabric of her dress, which the mother identified as her child. Listen to the following. The police or the Royal Gendarmerie were able to arrest the suspect who killed the girl, who disappeared as soon as the rest of the victim was found. He was found 5 days later, hiding in the house of one of his relatives. The course of the investigation revealed that the suspect had thrown the body for the purpose of getting rid of any trace of it in a water path that floods follow in that area at this time of the year, that is, the time of the crime, before the shepherd found it. What is suspicious about the matter is that investigations indicated that the suspect has a criminal record on charges of searching for treasures, which is considered a crime according to Moroccan law.
Other incidents reported by the Moroccan media involved children whose families confirmed that they were Zoharis. These children were kidnapped, and no trace of them has been seen to this day. It is truly unfortunate and uglier than all the crimes and malice of magicians. It is so dangerous that it necessitates the intervention of people of religion and knowledge about it. So what do they think? Let's see together. The subject of the Zoharic human being was not explicitly mentioned in any of the three religions. If we look at the Jewish religions, this term does not exist despite the claim of those who believe in it that it is derived from the book of Zohar related to the Kabbalah, as we mentioned previously. In the Christian religion, this topic was not mentioned clearly, but perhaps Christians believed in a situation similar to what we talked about. Who knows, perhaps it refers to the same topic, but under a different name, as Christian and theological books refer to the term spiritual man, which means the human nature that the Holy Spirit seized, dwelt in, and controlled. Of course, there is no mention of jinn, demons, treasures, etc. It's just what we mention. Turning to the Islamic religion, we see that this term does not exist, neither from here nor from there. Rather, the basis of this term, by which I mean the Zoharite person's communication or vision of the jinn, is completely rejected. This is evidenced by a verse from the Holy Quran, Surah Al-Araf, where God Almighty says, Bismillah al-Rahman al-Rahim.
O children of Adam, let not Satan tempt you as he removed your parents from paradise, stripping them of their clothing to show them their private parts. Indeed, he sees you, he and his tribe, from where you do not see them. Indeed, we have made the devil's allies to those who do not believe.
It is known to most Muslim scholars that the Quran is read to someone afflicted with jinn or bewitched to expel the jinn or break the spell, and not the opposite, that is communicating with them. Therefore, Islam categorically denies this matter and places it in the category of crimes against innocent children. We reach the opinion of science as the Moroccan psychologist points out. Karam al-Fatwaki said that studies on these children are still few, and prevailing beliefs may prompt parents to hide their children who may be gifted in some way. There are also many cases of children with disabilities or congenital defects accompanied by exceptional talent. As for cases of kidnapping and murder, specialist Karam attributes them to the prevailing and inherited beliefs in Moroccan society regarding this issue. As for Mohammed Amraden, a researcher in Moroccan popular culture, he believes that the matter is merely myths and frauds against wealthy families who believe in magic and sorcery. So this was the opinion of religion and science on a subject that was, to say the least, suspicious, strange, and strongly controversial. So, my friends, after we reviewed everything we found on this subject, whether it was information, myths, or crimes that occurred and were documented, and the opinion of science and religion about them, the most important question remains: are these children really different from ordinary humans? And do they really hide a secret matter and supernatural abilities that made them the most important target for these charlatans? Or is that the ignorance of some made them victims of brutal crimes, to say the least? God only knows. I await your opinions in the comments, and do not forget to share the video with your friends and subscribe to me on this channel. Thanks for watching.